Before we begin, we request everyone to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Let's watch the clip.
Thank you for your thoughts on regulation. Debbie Abrahams.
And good afternoon, Prime Minister. My questions are going to be on the Pathways to Work Green Paper. I think most people accept the need to reform our social security system, but also in terms of transforming the need to transform our labour market to enable disabled people to flourish within it. But based on the evidence of similar disability benefit cuts, for example, in 2017, the work-related activity component of employment and support allowance, we saw that, unfortunately, there wasn't the deliverance of increased jobs for sick and disabled people. And in fact, we saw an increase in mental health issues and 28,000 sick and disabled people pushed into severe poverty. So how are we going to ensure that in terms of the reforms that are proposed in the Green Paper, that we won't push more sick and disabled people into poverty and further away from the labour market?
Well, I think firstly we need to learn the lessons, as you rightly point out, from the past, where proposals were put into place which in the end didn't achieve the desired end. I don't think that means that nothing can ever work. I don't accept that for a minute. And I'm very struck by the additional number of people that are now not in work. And I do think that the measures we put in place, the right to try work, for example, I genuinely think could make a huge difference. I've seen many examples, you yourself will have as well, of people who would like to take the step into work but are worried that if they do and they fail, then they won't get the work and they won't have the benefit at the end of the exercise. I've seen pilots of this that I've gone to look at myself, where some firms have voluntarily said, we'll do a sort of right to try scheme. And to my mind, and the evidence I saw in front of me, they worked pretty well. Not every case, I would admit, but they worked pretty well. And we need to go through each of the measures with that approach, checking it against delivery. But I am convinced that some of these can make a material difference, including the right to try work and the support we're going to put to people who want to get into work.
Thank you, Chair. So on top of the issue around lack of deliverability on employment outcomes, again, at international level evidence and also our own experience here over the last 10 years, we also saw that fiscal savings were not made. So given that the OBR has refused to explore the supply-side effects of the Green Paper, that JRF, the Joseph and Rowntree Foundation analysis indicates that not 250,000 people, as the government estimates, will be pushed into poverty, but 400,000. And that children in family poverty and adversity are five times more likely to end up as NEETs as young people. What needs to happen to ensure that the Green Paper addresses the root causes of this poverty and adversity rather than adds to them?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for raising that. On the impact assessments, it is significant to my mind that the ability of any policy or legislation to change any behaviour at all is not priced in. In other words, there is simply, the OBR have scored nothing against any change here. The assumption is not a single person changes their behaviour. I personally struggle with that way of looking at it because I do think that these measures will make a material difference, and they need to make a material difference. You talk about NEETs, and I'm very worried about the 1 in 8 young people who is currently not earning or learning, because there's a pattern here of young people who are caught, in my view, in the sort of COVID years, who've then gone straight into...
Can I stop you? I do apologise. I did actually mention NEETs. So there is new evidence that shows that it is child poverty and family adversity that are the key drivers of this. COVID does play a part, and particularly for countries like ours, countries like the US, which have a particularly bad experience of COVID. But it is, as I say, this is peer-reviewed evidence that is showing that it is It is poverty and family adversity that are the key drivers around this. So how are we going to make sure that we don't make that worse by pushing more families into poverty prematurely, or at all?
Yeah.
I think your point on the impact assessment one is very well made, Prime Minister. And again, it would. I don't know if you're aware of what impact assessments are in the pipeline, because clearly what was analysed in terms of the poverty impact assessment, we had no employment impact assessment that there are real issues. So will you now commission independent analysis to ensure that we do have robust evidence, and so the policies that we are trying to implement for all the right reasons have the effects that we want?
Yeah, we have to have the right evidence base, and that is crucially important. We also have to do the work that we're committed to on child poverty and the child poverty strategy, which is proceeding because one of the achievements of the last Labour government was to reduce child poverty. And I want this Labour government to reduce child poverty as well, and that's why the strategy on child poverty is so important to us. As soon as we're able to share more details of that with you, we obviously will do so, so we can take your views into account on it.
Final little one, Chair, if that's okay. Well, on that basis, Prime Minister, I absolutely agree with you that we do need to do that work. Will you commit to not implementing legislation before we have the details of those impact assessments? I think that's so important. Otherwise, potentially, we will have policy that won't work and could actually do harm.
Well, as I've said, we need an evidence base, but we also need to get on with the work that we need to get on to. So I'm not going to make commitments in relation to timetabling, but I absolutely take the point you put to me.
Thank you.
An idea of the timetable for those announcements on child poverty?
Yes, but not sort of to the date. Can I write back to you on that? Just because we're working on it, and I'll be able to give you better information.
We appreciate the spending reviews in June, but some decisions are being made clearly before then, so it will be helpful to know.
Yeah, I'll write to the committee with more details of that.
Thank you very much indeed.
Before leaving, we request everyone to like and share the video so that it reaches a wider audience. Also, feel free to comment down your thoughts.